All right, guys, I'm a middle of the pack team. Here's an inbox offer I have. It's 12 team PPR Superflex start 10. I've got Davante Adams. I give Adams. I get George Pickens. What do you think? Is that enough? I'm not sure if I can compete next year. I kind of want Adams off of my squad.
So here's the thing, right? The TikTok nerds aren't going to like this. They're gonna come with torches and blow hammers and blow darts and come for my family when I say, if this is the best you can do and you're not going to compete next year, you're fairly certain you can't compete next year, you're not going to do any better than next year, right? It's not about it's about making your roster better long term, and George Pickens is going to make your roster better long term when Davante Adams is retired. You're never going to be able to get more than this in your league. Your league has already spoke. They said this is all you're getting. You're never getting more. Next year you're getting Christian Kirk, and you'll like it. So I'll take George Pickens.
Yeah, I guess I just wonder if you're a middle of the pack team, what is your goal? Is your goal to sell and try to still win and just kind of shave off the margins like we talk about if you're a fifth or sixth place team? This is a dynasty trade, but it's also a trade where you can still start George Pickens and just hope, he blows up a couple times and you could still probably have the same shot at sneaking into the playoffs and winning. I don't know. I think if I can get feels like I'm bailing out a team that probably needs Davante Adams. So I'm guessing this is a team that's ahead of me in the standings, right?
Yep.
And they want to make this move. I'm okay with doing it. Also feels like you're taking what you have to take, but we also know what's going to happen to Adams as soon as the season ends. As soon as the season ends, can you get George Pickens for him?
No.
Probably
No.
not. No. So I get it. This is one of those moves where if you're fifth or sixth place and you want to take it, you just start George Pickens and you go, man, I'll just pray that he outscores Davante Adams. And if he does, then I probably still have the same shot to win. And I know in the offseason I'm going to be ahead. So I'm okay doing it.
All right. So if you're watching this on replay, welcome. We've got a bunch of people who are in here live tonight, but we're going to be going over a bunch of trades and talking about things when you're stuck in the middle, if you're rebuilding, contending, different strategies for all of the above. Hopefully you don't have a trade deadline. If you do, it's still going to these trades will still apply to you. You'll still learn player values by following us here. Okay, so let's go to Ethan's question here. He was the first in the chat. So 12 team, start 9, Superflex, PPR, currently in first place. I have very little draft capital. My 23 first, 24 first, 25 first. Traded other picks away for young studs. QBs are Hurts and Geno. RBs are Saquon, Walker, Jamal Williams, Patterson. Wide receivers, Jefferson, Chase, DK, Olave. So some good ones there. Tight ends, Njoku, Henry, and Conklin. My question is, do I go get a top 3 tight end? If so, what should I be willing to give away? Do I try and go get a stud QB and pair Geno with DK with a first, or should I just stay put?
What was his quarterbacks?
Yeah, so his quarterback
Geno and
were
Jalen Hurts.
Geno and Hurts.
I'd rather upgrade at quarterback than tight end, but that's just because it's more of a long-term play. Yeah, I'm not going to upgrade at tight end at the expense of quarterback. So that's where I want to lay my wood, lay my money is on the quarterback.
That's definitely a TikTok reel. Shane wants to lay his wood on a quarterback.
He wants to lay his wood on an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of in a tough spot because you clearly need to upgrade at tight end and quarterback. I think when a start 9, you're looking at the positional upgrades as being worth even more. I do wonder if Geno Smith is one of those guys. We've talked about it a little bit in the past. Is he one of those guys that he's going to survive this offseason? He's probably going to be a starter next year. He's probably going to get paid a decent contract. Is he one of the guys with Jalen Hurts you can go and buy a third quarterback for less than a first and just kind of platoon Hurts with 2 others instead of paying up to get the elite quarterback? Because he says he only has 3 firsts and they're his next 3 years worth of firsts, no other picks. So is this really a team? I'll ask Shane because we talk about these on the roster reviews all the time. He only has 3 firsts, no extras, only his picks for the next 3 years. Is this really a team that can afford to go take Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, and add 2 more firsts to go get a quarterback?
Most likely not, but the wide receivers are stacked. I mean, he's got Jefferson, Chase, Deke, and what were his running backs? Barkley and
Barkley and
Jamal
Kenneth
Williams,
Walker.
Ken Walker.
But I guess my question is, okay, yeah, his starting lineup then becomes great, but he's dealt away all of his insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically thinned his team down to where he is one injury away from being like, now I have to go. You don't want to be in a spot where you're an injury away from now you have to break Jamar Chase into 2 pieces just so you can survive. You want to get to a place where you have those guys and you have extra picks in the chamber. I don't know if he's ready to go and pay 3 firsts plus on top of Geno Smith to go get another quarterback. So I'd actually rather just try to play it. Go get Derek Carr. See if you can get him for like a second. See if you can pivot down and get a second and Derek Carr for a first or something like that. Just play the 3 next year and then worry about upgrading at tight end later. But I'd rather do that. And I'm good with just Njoku. And
how about a first or Trevor Lawrence? Go get Trevor Lawrence. A lot more upside there.
If you can, yeah. I mean, if you can go get a guy like that, then yeah. But it almost feels like you should be able to pay less and just platoon the Geno Smith and another guy and still get the same production compared to Trevor Lawrence. So I just don't know. I would love to get 2 elite quarterbacks. But when I'm looking at teams and I go, basically it would gut my roster construction and I'd have to go into all my feature picks just to make it happen. And then you only have 2 elite quarterbacks. One thing I've talked about on America's Game that we just released this morning was some of these teams where you went into the season, Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, if you didn't have a third quarterback and you picked the wrong guys, the guys that weren't positional advantages and or got hurt, just because you had Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott, you might be in 9th place right now.
No,
if you didn't have a third quarterback.
You missed on both quarterbacks. It wouldn't matter who your
what if you did? But you also went into the season and you go, I don't need a third. I'm never going to start a third until you do. And you're going, man, I really wish I had Geno Smith or Jimmy Garoppolo on my bench to start the year. So I think he's in a position where he should just go get another quarterback and not pay up yet.
So should he be going to the middle of the road teams or the teams that are out of it? Like maybe there's a team who's out of it who has even like Kirk Cousins or something. See if you can snatch him.
What Kirk Cousins for a 23 first? People just hate Kirk Cousins.
Can he go and downgrade? Like, can he get, I don't know, AJ Brown and 2 firsts for Jamar Chase?
No.
Not. I mean, can he make a mega deal like that where he accrues extra draft capital and then goes upward again? But the receiver he gets as a pivot down is a guy that still is going to be in starting lineup in a start 9. You know, like, can he go get? Can he sell one of his running backs and go get extra draft capital that way? Then you can make the quarterback upgrade. I just don't think where he's at right now, he can go make it with just his picks that he has.
Right. Okay, so we got a super chat here. J Tegan 85. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. 12 team, 1 QB, PPR, start 8. Contender with Lamar, JJ, and Chase. Down a 23 first, but have an extra second and third next 2 years. Had to clear my throat there. Pursue an elite third option or hold with Deontay and Lockett. What should I be willing to pay for a Waddle Higgins type or for a Godwin Hollywood Brown type?
So Lockett's outscoring Godwin and Higgins, I believe, this year. So sometimes we get too enamored with the names and the youth. Trust me, I do too. Like Waddle makes me want to like just do special things. But like Lockett's actually, if you just look at scoring, he's actually elite. And I know that's, you don't feel like you can count on that, and he's old. Deontay I like, but Deontay feels more like a wide receiver too now. So I don't think I'd be adding anything to get to him as an elite option. But down to 21st, I mean, the problem is you don't have any firsts. So what are you going to give up? Like, I'm not going to take, if I'm the other person, I'm not taking DK in a second for Waddle. Anything like that.
It's a start 8. He's already got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I'm fine just rotating my other flex spots and or wide receiver spots with whoever is the most productive / cheapest receivers. So right now, Contender, can I go buy Keenan Allen? Can I go buy Jacoby Myers? Those types. Obviously, in the offseason, they have no value. Lockett, Keenan Allen, no value in the offseason. But like Shane said, you're not upgrading to, a Higgins or a Waddle type with no firsts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you in start 8, you don't want to break down Chase and Jefferson to go get one of those guys. So I think you just say, okay, I have the top 2 receivers in Dynasty, guys that we've seen have massive ceiling games too, right? Like multiple games over 30 plus points. If you get one of those every other week, you don't need 20 points per game from your other receivers. You can get by with Lockett. If he gives you 10, he gives you 10. He gives you 20, he gives you 20. So I would always be looking at, who are the cheapest. We had a conversation this morning in the Trades HQ chat about receivers. And it was like, there's a ton of receivers that are in this like dead zone. They're all producing in the same range. Some of them are worth firsts. Some of them no one wants. And those are for different reasons, but I would be buying on the ones that no one wants because they're still productive. So Lockett's perfect, Keenan Allen's perfect. I love Jacoby Myers. He's right in that range with these guys, but he doesn't have the same name cachet. So yeah, that's where I'd be fishing. You can probably get one of those guys for a second.
Out of curiosity, so in a 12-team 1 QB start 8, what would a Waddle Higgins type cost if we're just talking picks in a vacuum?
It's got to be at least 2 firsts.
2 firsts.
Yeah. And if I have them, I go, I don't know. What am I going to do with those 2 firsts? Like, am I going to be able to start both those firsts?
In a start 8, do you even want to break them up for 2 pieces,
Yeah.
I'd rather just hold and just I'll trade off guys that I don't like, Dameon Pierce when he hits, guys like that, when they hit and they weren't expected hits, those guys can go away. But like a Waddle, Chase, Higgins, like I'm just going to hold on to them.
Well, here's another option. Can you go trade Jamar Chase for CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle? Can you go trade Justin Jefferson for A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb? If you can literally do 2 for 1s and you're still staying within, if you turn Chase and Jefferson into 4 top 15 receivers, then you're still fine. I just doubt you have 2 people in the league that are willing to do that type of trade. So it's like if you told me how do you trade Chase or Jefferson in a start 8, you don't. You know what I mean? You don't. Yep. There's almost nothing you could come to me and be like, I need 2 guys that are guaranteed to start no matter what. And I just don't. If someone has 2 of those guys, why would they give up 2 for 1 when they know, the elite players matter so much in a shallow league? So they're just tough to value.
Price check on wide receiver 2s like Pittman and Godwin for those that want to pivot, please. Neil asks. So
what are we pivoting to? Down or out?
Let's say we're pivoting out. So straight up pick value wise, would you rather have a 23 second and 24 first or Michael Pittman?
Ooh, that's one of Shane's flavors of the week over the last couple weeks.
What was the offer? I'm getting a first. I heard a first in there.
I'm going to give you a 2023 second and a 2024 first.
Yeah, he's gone. I like Pittman.
Michael Pittman.
He's gone.
He gone.
See, it's it's the second that actually does it for me.
Why? Because you could go buy a productive receiver that can probably give you the same thing for a year or 2 with the second. And
or I could add a second to that and go get Jacoby Myers, who's Scott's favorite guy, and then he'll probably put up the same type of production for him, except he's Jacoby Myers. And
he's outproduced Chris Godwin. So,
I like Jacoby Myers.
Here's the problem, though. You have to have that deal lined up already because I've tried that where I talk about the wide receiver threshold, how many I want. I've tried hey, let me go sell this guy for 2 pieces. Then I go, I can go buy Tyler Lockett for a second. Then I try to do it, and it's like, no, I want more. What do you want? I need a first. It's like, okay, man. That's where you're getting into.
Enjoy him dying on your roster.
Here's the thing. If you have any of these guys, Clay, and I come to you with the 23 second, is that moving the needle for your Chris Godwin?
No.
But you also know you would probably take a first, right?
I would take a first, and honestly, like if my team were in a rough spot, I might take a couple seconds.
Okay, but clearly there is a middle ground that we both have to agree on to trigger the deal. It's the classic more than a first or less than a first, more than a second, and that feels like literally half the players in Dynasty right now. Mm-hmm. So you have to come to the owner and be like, I'm motivating you. I have to give you enough to get you to make the sale. It's not even about the price. It's like, I need to not overpay, but I need to incentivize you to move off of a guy that you're like, if I can't get a first for him, I'll just hold him.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's just stupid. If you're going to hold on to old people like Tyler Lockett on your roster's never going to get any better, and you deserve to lose every year.
I mean, he's different. I think he's talking more of the receivers that are the fascinating ones are, Deontay, Chris Godwin, the guy, the guys that are 25, 26, where you're not worried about them falling off the cliff.
Buy them all. Buy them all.
Buy them all.
That's what I say. Collect them, but then the ones you can sell. So.
Okay. So, Eric's got a super chat for us. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jay Teagan, for that previous one as well. Inbox offer, 10 team, super flex, half PPR, no tight end premium, start 12. Trade Dak and Brees for Lamar, a late 23 second. Rebuilding with Burrow, Olave, Smith, Pitts, Judy, and Ridley.
It might be time to start looking at Lamar and going, you know what? Two out of these last 3 years, you've kind of just been a guy, like a low-end QB1. Like, are you really that much better than Dak?
I mean, he is QB6 right now, so
whatever.
You gotta give him that.
He's in the middle of the pack.
At 10-team, half PPR, I'm not doing this because if I have Dak and Burrow on a rebuild, I'm not sweating my quarterback room. I'd rather look to upgrade in a different spot. Go trade Brees Hall and something for Kyler Murray, and then worry about having 3 quarterbacks instead of overpaying for Lamar right this second. I would wait.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, agreed there. Thank you very much for the super chat, sir. Much appreciated. Let me go back to the comments here. All right, let's go to Justin Johnson's got a question for us. He's got a middling team with DeAndre Hopkins, Amari Cooper, and Keenan Allen, either the 6th or 7th seed. Trade deadlines next week. Should I trade one or more to prep for 2023? I have Herbert as QB, 3 firsts and 2 seconds in 23. So that's a classic spot. He's right there in or out of the playoffs. Trade deadlines next week. He's got these 3 older assets. I know it's kind of broad to say, should I trade one or more to prep for 2023? It's like, yeah, well, what would you get for them? But what do you think?
Well, I mean, that's exactly the answer. Well, what are you going to get for them?
You do trade DeAndre Hopkins because he hasn't had a bye yet. He's not helping you next. He's not going to help you next week. You already know that. We talked about this on America's Game. Can you trade DeAndre Hopkins for Tyler Lockett in a second?
I don't know. Can you? If you can, yes.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
right. That's what I'm trying to do. Hopkins is the guy I want to trade to. Keenan Allen, I actually think I would buy Keenan Allen at this point because no one wants him, but he could literally be a wide receiver 1 the rest of the year, but no one wants him. So I think he has the least dynasty value of those 3. So Hopkins would be the one I'd be selling because he hasn't had his bye. If you're 6 or 7 seed, you can't afford to take a 0.
For that, yep.
So that's if you're trying to sell them, yeah. But again, are you going to get that for him? I'm fine.
You spam. You pick 5 receivers that are in that range and you spam. You don't give a shit which one you get.
I'm fine, but
Lockett, Jacoby Myers, pick one.
Yeah, but if you can't, I'm fine with holding on to DeAndre and Amari Cooper for next year and running it back in 23. Adding those 3 firsts to it because I know my team's going to be young enough that I can withstand the hit of those 2 old people.
So what about Keenan though? Because the thing is, nobody wants Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
you could put Hopkins on the block, someone would want him.
Yeah, like when am I going to get a few thirds for Keenan Allen? Like at this point, like just he's another one. Like I'll just hold on, like because he can put up top 24 production if he can ever stay on the football field again, which isn't a guarantee at his advanced age of 49 years old, but.
He's 53.
53, yeah. If I can't get anything better than a third for him, then what's the point? Just hold on though.
Yeah, Andy's got the stack. Okay, hopefully that helped you out. We've got 154 people in here, 156 now. Thanks so much for joining us on a holiday weekend. This is awesome. It's good to be in front of you. But if you wouldn't mind, hit that little thumbs up if you're on the YouTube machine. Give us a little like. That's the easiest way to help our channel. Much appreciated. Shane's nodding his head. He's like, it is the easiest way. If you want to do a hard way, you can hit share to one of your burner email addresses. Apparently, YouTube likes that as well. So let's move on to the next one here. But I'll throw this up there real quick. FF Uncle Piff says, I'm here and stuck in the middle is the worst place to be. That's why I had it be the theme for tonight. There's a lot of people who are stuck in the middle. I've got a bunch of teams who are stuck in the middle.
Yeah, but even
It's kind
stuck
of
in the
like
middle,
make a call.
there's different variations of that, right? You're stuck in the middle because your team's young and you're building and it's ascending. At least it's like, all right, another year, you know what I mean? Like this really could go somewhere. It's when you're stuck in the middle and you go, oh, my wide receivers are Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen. My running backs are James Cook and Ezekiel Elliott and another old person not producing particularly well, and Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones. Then it's like, oh, I'm drawing dead. I'm not just really stuck in the middle.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think I think Shane hit it perfectly, that there are two types of teams stuck in the middle. It's a team that shouldn't be contending, but they're in 7th place and they're going, man, if I make the playoffs, like that was great. Then there's the other teams, like you said, that aren't as good as the elite ones, but they have no choice but to continue to push and try to make the playoffs. Those are the toughest places to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are the ones where you have to explore those trades we just talked about. You have to look at your assets and go, okay, I need to make sure I make the playoffs. But if I can squeeze out any extra value, if I can pick up an extra pick or two and not hurt my margins of what's going to let me get in the playoffs. Because if you're the 6th seed and you have a meddling roster, what are the odds you miss the playoffs? It might be 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds you win the league if you make the playoffs? 10% at best. So you might make the playoffs and you go, yeah, I'm in the playoffs. And then you get 5th place and you're actually not helping yourself. So how can you look at certain spots and say, can I pivot in this spot, get a 2-for-1, pick up an extra 3rd, pick up an extra 2nd, pick up a 2-for-1, where then it maybe allows me to trade away a running back that I can get a 2nd for, that I look at my team and I go, I set my lineup, man, I got to start Jeff Wilson this 2nd. But I also know Jeff Wilson's a guy I should probably sell for a 2nd, because 2 months he's a jag. You know, you're waiting for the exact same scenario for him to pop up next year. Until then, he has no value. So can you do a 2-for-1? Can you pivot off Hopkins for Lockett and, I don't know, Samaje Perine or something like that? Look for a better name, but try to find another spot starter. And then you trade Jeff Wilson for the 2nd. Boom. You have not killed your margins at all of what it's going to take for you to win. You still have a small chance. But you just turned a player that you know you should be trading away for a 2nd, but you didn't change the scope of your starting lineup. I think that you got to look at those types of deals, and it's tough. Not a lot of us have a lot of time to do that, but those rosters are the ones that I think get neglected the most. And then, you know, you're drawing dead when we get to the offseason. Nobody wants to trade with you because your roster looks like what, Shane? Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins. Nobody wants those guys. So you got to get, and you may not have even had picks either. So now you have absolutely no flexibility to work with.
And let's say you're not going to, like, you know, get in diving into data to try to figure out, you know, what pivots you should make. What would be an easy way of finding out how to move from like DeAndre Hopkins to Tyler Lockett, like looking at points per game, be like, okay, can I afford to give up 3 points per game on this wide receiver and try to get a pick on top? Like what's an easy hack for finding out what kind of pivot you could make? Looking at points per game, would that help?
I think you got to almost keep a really, really open mind and be like, this is the process that I should follow, right? The name, you almost have to look at this. We have 3 weeks left in the fantasy season until the playoffs. You're looking at range of outcomes. Now, sure, if you're trading away DeAndre Hopkins, you're probably sitting there going like, man, I'm scared that he's going to score 25 points per game the rest of the way, and he's going to kill me. You know, if I trade him for a guy scoring 14 points per game, I'm taking a big hit. Until what if he doesn't put up 20 points per game the rest of the year and he hasn't had his bye yet? That's a guy where if like he goes for 10 tomorrow and then has a bye, what did you keep, you know? So I think just casting a broad net and saying, okay, here is 7 guys I would be willing to trade for. So Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard, Tyler Lockett, like just literally go down through Tyler Boyd, Josh Palmer, keep an open mind. The key is getting the 2nd. It has nothing to do with the receiver you got. You just need a receiver and or running back or tight end, whatever you're trading away. You need somebody to kind of throw in your lineup and be like, I'm shooting for the ceiling, and if I don't get it, I'm going to lose and not make the playoffs anyway.
Heavy Kevy's got a super chat for us. Thank you very much, as always, Heavy Kevy. 12-team Superflex PPR, 1.5 tight end premium, start 10. Give A.J. Brown and T.J. Hawkinson. Get Jamar Chase. Have Goddard and Njoku, Kmet. tanking this year, hit that like button. Thank you, Heavy Kevy. So what do we think here?
Done.
Yeah, I mean, TJ Hawkinson's not enough to make me go, oh, well, this is way too much. Dude, you're getting Jamar Chase. You're getting the wide receiver 2 in fantasy, probably, or the wide receiver 1 once he starts playing again. This is a dude that can put up really, really crooked numbers. I love A.J. Brown, but he ain't Jamar Chase.
And he's got Goddard and Njoku and Komet, so, get by. It's not like he's, starting Shane Manila at tight end if he gets rid of TJ Hawkinson. And Shane smoking cigarettes there on the football field. It's disgusting, right?
Awful.
That's the thing, is he's kind of out of roster construction too, with too many tight ends. So the only other option would be, okay, can I trade one of my tight ends for a first? And if you can't, he's probably tempted when he sets his lineup to go, ooh, let me flex TJ Hawkinson.
And I'm sure he's offered Njoku instead of TJ Hawkinson. Dude, like, nah, Komet instead of TJ Hawkinson. And dude was like, nah. And he's not giving up Goddard, which is the most valuable tight end. So do it. Do it now.
I like this move.
Definitely. I would even add a second onto that. No problem.
But he doesn't have to.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, there's flexibility. Oh, it's not an inbox offer just yet. So anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, try to get a third back, try to get a filler running back, something like that. Don't be worried about accepting it if you don't get that. But it's a good deal.
Okay, let's go on to another one here. We won't spend too much time on it. Let's see, what's our cutoff going to be tonight? We'll make it 10 o'clock. So let's not talk too much about tanking in Dynasty, but should it be allowed?
Yes.
Trevor Brown.
Yes, it is a strategy.
So tanking, Shane. So are you talking about, you've got, obvious starters who would be in your starting roster sitting on your bench? Like you've got, like, let's say, you've got Justin Fields sitting on your bench, super flex.
Look, tank. I don't care. Tanking. If you want to let someone tank, you can't be half-assed and be like, oh, but you have to put in your best players. Like, that's subjective as shit. You know what I mean? Like, what are we basing that off of? I'm going off Fantasy Pros ECR consensus, and I'm going to start checking that every week, dude. If you want to tank, I don't care. The only thing you have to do is start a lineup of players that are actually playing. That's it. Are they active on the roster? Are they active on game day? Yes. Are you not starting players that are on the IR? Fine. You did your due diligence. You want to sit Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Well, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson and Joe Burrow. Fine. Do it. As long as the players that you're putting in their place are actually playing, go for it.
I mean, I think all commissions probably have different opinions on this, but the more lenient you are, the easier it is for the commish, right? Like, if you're going to create these rules that says, I'm going to police who you can start. I'm in some leagues where they do police who you start. It's clear when somebody is not setting a lineup that they're trying, when they sit like Rashad White and they play Keyshawn Vaughn instead, exact same backfield. You're going like, okay, clearly, which one you would play. But if it's not in the bylaws, as long as they're both active on game day, which they will be, then you didn't do anything wrong. But I've seen where commissions will go, no, you have to set your quote unquote best lineup. But you commish some leagues, Clay. It's a little hypocritical when you say that, because are you really going to go in and criticize somebody if they think something is their best lineup and then it's not? Like, where do you draw the line? So I think it's active players. The only ones that I've seen commissions have issues with are active quarterbacks. Like Brandon Allen's active tomorrow, but he's not the starter. So what is an active player at quarterback? Because I've seen people sit their starting quarterbacks and play backups that are clearly going to get no snaps. So stuff like that. But if it's not in the bylaws, what do we say on the roster review, Shane? If you read the bylaws and exploit the shit out of them.
We're telling people on their taxi, like, yeah, are you allowed to put third-year guys on your taxi? Because if you can, do it.
But it's got to be in the bylaws. That's the thing. Right. If the commish lays it out and then you break the rules, you're subject to the punishment. If it's not laid out and the commish starts making rules on the fly, like, hey, Clay, you're not setting a good lineup. Okay, I'm out of that league.
That's worse. That's worse for the league. That's worse for the league, is the commish making judgment calls. The commish going, well, you really should have started Tyler Lockett over Jacoby Myers there. You really should have started Goddard over I don't freaking know. It doesn't matter. David Njoku. It doesn't matter. Literally, it doesn't matter. If the guy's active, I don't care. play them. Like, we don't bitch about people having rookies on the taxi squad, right? Like, if you go to a roster and someone's getting smoked all year, but they got Ken Walker, Breece Hall, and George Pickens on the taxi squad, most of the time we're just like, oh, they're on the taxi squad because it's got a special name. Like, we think that they shouldn't have to start them. Whatever. If as long as you're starting active players, that's all I ask. And I'm not going to, like, I don't commission any leagues, and I'm certainly not going to go monitor everybody to make sure that the scoring setup's like, well, this guy was, who's to say if ECR for Fantasy Pros says that this guy is the 30th ranked wide receiver, but you started the 45th. Well, how's that not tanking?
Yeah. TJ Clutch, excuse me. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. 12 team, 1 QB, start 8. Rebuilding, traded Kamara, a late 23 second and a 25 second for Eno Benjamin, a 24 first and a 25 first. How did I do?
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, is Eno Benjamin on the roster anywhere now? Someone signed him?
Texans.
All right, he's got no shot. He's dead in the water. Look, I obviously I want a 23 first. No one's going to give you that for Kamara. Not in any of the leagues I'm with. And the 25, I don't even know what you call that year, even though it's not a real year. I guess the pick exists. So you got 2 firsts for the guy. So if you made this trade in 3 months after the season, I'd go, well, it's not a bad deal. You got one, a pick coming up in the 2 of the next 3 upcoming classes. So that's not bad.
And maybe dumping Kamara helps him even like 2% as well,
Right.
by dumping him now versus the end of the season. So yeah,
Right.
good deal. That's one of those where it's just liquidate. Don't even worry about what the other team's getting.
So let's not get into too much of a legal talk here, even though I'm married to a lawyer. Are you expecting that Kamara might get some sort of suspension next season? I think March is when there's something happening in March, like some kind of court date. What do you think? Are you planning, like, in your head when you're looking at Kamara on your team and you want to get rid of him? Are you like, yeah, because I don't want to deal with that 3 or 6 game suspension?
I mean, I think we probably can anticipate that there's going to be something. But the video came out, and I mean, I don't know if you guys watched the video, but it's not. It doesn't really show anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of does, but it's not like, oh my gosh, it's plastered on everybody's front page and everybody's retweeting it. It's so egregious. Like, how are we letting this guy play? Everyone thought that might be the case this year, where anytime in the season it gets released and they just take him off the field because it's so bad. But yeah, I mean, I think he's past his age apex already, and you already kind of anticipate it. That's, even if it doesn't happen, that's going to be milked in his value because we've perceived for the last year that he's going to be suspended at some point. Yeah. So if it doesn't happen this year, the dynasty market's going to say, oh, it's for sure happening next year. Probably put me on the buy side of Kamara, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I'm more concerned with the fact that he's past the age apex. I don't really care that he's going to miss 2 games, 3 games for suspension. I mean, I kind of bake in that most running backs are going to miss 1, 2, 3 games anyway. That's an in-season buy for him. I mean, not that it's good, but look, he's going to be healthy for 3 weeks because he's going to have 3 weeks off.
I mean, remember DeAndre Hopkins' value last year when he was out 6 games. That's what 6 games would be. It'd be personal conduct policy, 6 games. If he comes back and he's a difference maker, I'll be the one buying for the seconds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, let's put this one up here. Talking running backs. Let's move over to Ken Walker III. For rebuilders, is Ken Walker III a sell or a hold? When do you hold on to RBs if you're rebuilding? Never is what we normally say, right? If you're rebuilding, don't worry about the running back. But Ken Walker.
Where am I at in my rebuild? Do I think I can compete next year? Do I have 323 first and I'm just going to add another 3 running backs to this and then just beat everybody in the face with my running back room because no one would trade me wide receivers? Then fine, I'm holding on them. Can I not get more than George Pickens for him? Can I only get, are people only offering me like 24 firsts? Like, you know what? No, like, he's worth more than that. I'm going to take the risk. I've already made it through week, 13 of the season, week 12 of the season. I'll risk it 4 more weeks that he's not going to blow out a knee or something, and I'll run it back next year or in the off season because his value will increase again in the off season when, no one's injured. There's no such thing as injuries in the off season. So I'll see if I can trade him then if I really need to move him.
Yeah, am I setting my team up next year around Ken Walker as like my hero RB? If so, I'm okay keeping him. If, we've seen some teams where it's like, yeah, they have Ken Walker, but they also have 323 first, and they want to know if they should go out and trade for Travis Etienne too, and it's like, you can, but you just got to build your team correctly around him. If I'm not competing right now, it feels like you don't really want to have more than one high-end running back on your roster, especially if you have picks like Shane was saying. So, I mean, kind of got to look at your roster and say, I would hope he doesn't have any older running backs, but let's say he's stuck with an older running back too. Like if let's say you have Dalvin Cook, can't trade him, right? You've tried to trade him. Nobody will give you a first anywhere. I'm okay trading Ken Walker if you can get 2 firsts. I'll just build my running back room next year around Dalvin Cook. Yeah, it might only last one more year, but clearly the market says I can trade the one that everyone wants versus the one I want to trade away. And if you really think you're contending next year, just roll with the older one. So that's another option. Can you trade Ken Walker, get a first and another good running back, but an older one? I would do something like that because it's really about how you're constructing your team to win next year. If you're not winning until 2024 or beyond, dump them all.
Yep. Okay, so let's move back to the comments here, and we have a super chat from. Let me scroll up. Excuse me. It's a very generous one from. Where is it? Davis Daniels. There it is. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. Appreciate it. He says, long question, but Shane gets like 10 or 15 iced coffees out of that, so he can handle this. No, thank you very much. 12-team Superflex, start 10, half PPR. Have Mahomes, Lamar, Brees, Etienne, T, Amon-Ra, Olave, Pickens, Wilson, London, Burks, Hollywood, Ridley, 623 firsts, 224 firsts. McBride and Ottener is only tight ends. Looking to build for title runs. His 2 of 2 starting next year. Want Kelsey for next year's run, but Kelsey owner knows that and wants to tax me for him. Wants Pickens and a first for Kelsey. Is that too much?
I saw Shane's face because I know he thinks it's too much. But
no, I mean, but it's the cost of doing business, right? Like if this is what it takes to get the top tight end in the league. Now, I hate buying players thinking like, all right, well, I'm doing this a year out. But I wouldn't pass on this. This is definitely something that I'd be like, you know what? I don't love it, but I can live with it. When you figure that I've got A-Rob, Olave, Wilson, London, freaking Burks. Obviously, I'd like
a lot of young pieces.
Yeah. I'd probably, and I'm sure you have it. If you haven't, I'd probably be like, can I give you Burks, Ridley, and a first rather than Pickens? Because Pickens is significantly above those guys for me. But if not, push comes to shove. Yeah, you know what? I'm good with it.
So what if he's got 623 first, and obviously I'm sure he's trying to give his latest one, but let's say that the other guy's like, no, I don't want your latest one. I've got one that's going to be maybe in the 105 range. You giving the 105 and Pickens for Kelsey and a half PPR?
I'm going to give a little different answer. So he made this clear in the second part of the question. Title runs next year.
Yep.
Turn the table on this other guy. Why am I offering that deal right now? I tell him I'll offer you that deal in August.
Yeah, true.
Seriously.
Kelsey's not going to get more expensive.
Because here's the thing. Who else is he going to sell Kelsey to? What other team has the assets that he wants that he can get this type of deal? I would even tell him, man, that's a fair price. Check back with me in 9 months. Now, you may not necessarily make him wait 9 months, but I'm betting he doesn't sell Travis Kelsey to someone else unless he's getting even more than what you're getting or giving him. And if someone's going to pay more than what you're paying, like someone's going to get in an arms race with you, he can have him. So I think the leverage is I'm not competing this year. I want him for next year. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to sit with my 623 first. I'm going to also sit with the fact that maybe I go to the Mark Andrews manager, go after him. Maybe I can pay 20% less.
Yep. And he's got a third part here that I'll put up. Thanks again, Appreciate it. You didn't have to tip us another 10 there, but thank you very much. Also, in that same league with Mahomes and Lamar as my super flex QBs, do I look differently at Lamar as my solidified QB2? What does upgrading from him look like? Do I consider Tannehill a 23 first and a 24 first for him?
No, like
No
Scott said earlier, right? And I brought up, oh, he's a low end QB1 because it feels that way. He's the QB6.
Yeah.
Like, bro, even if he was a low end QB1, he'd still be a solidified QB2. The fact that he's still QB6 and he's been dog shit because of the rushing ability.
And you've got plenty of firsts.
Yeah,
you've got 6 of them. You might give up one for Kelsey down the road.
And he's playing with no weapons.
He's
trying to survive so that he can leverage the hell out of the Ravens for a contract. So I think there's only upward you can go with Lamar. And he's still not killing you. If you just he's at 24.7 points per game right now. If you look at 6 point per passing touchdown, and I know he had a couple massive games earlier that's inflating that average, but he's going to give me 23 points per game for the next couple of years, and it's QB8. Okay, maybe he's not worth 4 first like he was before the season, but it's not worth panicking. I do think he should use one of those first and try to solidify maybe even one of his 24 first and try to solidify a third quarterback. I'm okay with that. But I just think he doesn't need to make the Kelsey move right now because the way it sounds like is the Kelsey manager, he even said, is charging him a tax. So you'll just tell him you're going to get your taxes later. I'll pay my taxes in 8 months, but why would I pay him early?
This is, me and Scott shop different, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I want this. I'm going to buy it now. Scott's like, oh, I'm going to buy that in 4 months. I'm like, fuck you. It might not be there in 4 months. Shit could happen. I want it now. You give me it now. So I might be overpaying right now, but at least I'll have the security of knowing that I have it, and I'll be okay with that. Although, again, I'll try every variation and permutation of that trade without Pickens to see if I can pull it off.
Try Treylon Burks instead of Pickens.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's got so many assets.
Yeah, really, it doesn't. They're all, I mean, honestly, this is where you're supposed to not even look at the names because they're all these different players, these wide receivers, and basically the same 2 tiers. So they're all replaceable.
Yep.
In that sense.
All right. So we're moving on to Hunter Boyd here. 10 team, start 10, PPR, Superflex. Give DK Metcalf, Najee Harris, and an early 23 first. It could be the 101 or 102 overall for Justin Jefferson and Ezekiel Elliott. Thoughts? I have 3 firsts. So would my mid first be worth it?
Yeah.
Mid, yes.
102 and everything else, you could squint and say it's okay. If it's 101, there's a big difference. Problem. Big difference.
Yeah. I'm giving up the 101 DK and Najee for JJ. Yes. I love DK. DK is he's a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2. Those are replaceable. Najee Harris is he's a sentient trash can. He's a little more athletic than most trash cans.
Would you rather give his mid and his late first and keep the potential 101?
Yes.
If
given the choice,
try that.
I'd give up both those first because just adding Jefferson to Bijan Robinson next year would just absolutely be unfair and make people cry.
Try the mid first. If he doesn't take it, add on the late first. Last gasp, I would say, give the other one. But I still don't love it.
Make them work for it.
So we have a bunch more questions and a bunch more super chats I know that are in there, but this is a good time to segue. At what point would Bryce Young be in the same conversation for Bijan at the 101? Is it even possible?
Oh, Scott doesn't think so.
You know why it's not possible? Because did anyone see the picture of him with Nick Saban tonight?
Bryce,
he's talking to Nick. I'll say this: Bryce Young will be 5'9" at best and 180 pounds.
Buck 80.
Yeah,
so you're talking about a guy that is a historic outlier that has everything else going for him. Everything you've read is like he's going to be the consummate pro, super smart. Basically, like I don't even want to compare him to this guy because they're from the same school, but he's basically like another Mac Jones, but way better. But he's 5'9". He's 5'9". So you're telling me that a guy that's 5'9", he's Kyler Murray's size, but 25 pounds lighter, and that's the surefire 102 in a rookie draft?
Is it? I say CJ Stroud is, but I get it.
I mean, there's going to be a debate, but I think they're going to see warts on CJ Stroud. They're not going to see on Bryce Young. But I think the point is there's a big gap between 101 and everything else.
Yeah, and so that kind of illustrates the point there. There's a debate even between who the 102 is, but the 101 is Bijan. And all he does every week is just go out and just absolutely crush. And you're like, dude,
man.
can you stop playing football, please? Can we just get you to the NFL?
Yeah, 29 carries the other night, something like that. Yeah, he's a machine. I don't think he even caught a ball last game. Didn't have to. I think Ewers only threw it like 16, 18 times. Okay, let's move on here. Let's go to back to these super chats. Got a lot of generous folks in here, but we have 195 awesome folks. Whether you're generous or not, you're generous with your time.
You're generous with your time.
Exactly.
And as someone that used to volunteer, that's very important. Not now, though.
Used to.
Yeah, not anymore.
War Rocket 99. Thank you very much for the super chat. Superflex. Let's try that one again. That's not a word. That's like Shane fighting the English language. I'm over one. Superflex, 10 teams, start 11. I traded Lamar Jackson and Christian Watson for Geno Smith, Ramondre Stevenson, and the 23-101. I also have the 102. I'm also currently third and locked into the playoffs.
So here's the thing. I can get rid of that. I also have because I don't give a shit. You gave up Lamar Jackson for the 101 is basically what I say. Is Bijan?
I think Ramondre over Christian Watson is a pretty.
You think it's significant like that?
I think. Well, and you're getting Geno Smith, who's at least again, this is how you've built your quarterback room. If Lamar Jackson was your QB1 and now you're going into next year and you're going, because we talked about this on America's Game too. Like, do you really want to go into next year with a quarterback room of Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, and Jimmy Garoppolo? Because you're going to look at 2022 numbers and go, man, all those guys were like top 15. But do you trust those three with that? If that's your quarterback room going into next year, Clay?
No, and the problem is they never have value, and if they're not scoring fantasy points, you're double whammied. Exactly. You're holding dead assets.
So, I mean, if you have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and you make this kind of trade, I can at least get on board with what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, can I get two quarterbacks that can match close to Lamar Jackson if I platoon them, and I'm winning the other side of the trade? But we don't know the context here. So I would lean with Shane's side of just saying I don't want to do it. But if he has a process, I'm not going to say it's horrible.
Yep.
No, it's not horrible. It's just I'd rather have Lamar Jackson than Bijan, and then the other stuff doesn't make up for it. Ramondre over Christian Watson, and Geno Smith is going to turn into a pumpkin at some point.
WD has to, right?
If you've been a pumpkin your whole life, you turn back into a pumpkin.
Market forces have to take over at some point. Nice little comment here from Delusional Tanner. Just wanted to say you guys are the best Dynasty channel on YouTube. You guys have taught me so much during my first year of doing Dynasty. Appreciate you. We appreciate you, man. We get a lot of comments like this, and that's what keeps us going. It's a
badass avatar too.
It is a badass avatar.
Yeah, hit me up. I need an avatar. Mine sucks.
Yours is an S.
This is an S. Yeah, I don't think mine is anything special either. But I spent enough time working on thumbnails, so I could probably do an avatar. My thumbnail for this was kind of whack. I had to throw it together. My wife was like, "Yeah, you've got some time to play with." It's like, all right, I'm gonna make some mud on this football field. Does it look like they're stuck in mud at all? Like on the thumbnail, it's like dog shit, right? Anyway.
I didn't notice it, so I guess I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, so the mud looks good then.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it now. It's
not terrible.
It's respectable.
Okay.
From afar, it maybe looks like they're in a really like muddy lake, but
yeah, there's a little bit of flow to the mud. Max Muncie has a super chat for us. Thank you very much. The 2023 103 and a 2023 second rounder for AJ Brown. Thoughts?
Well, first of all, we got professional Los Angeles Dodgers players super chatting us, so appreciate you, Max Muncie.
Yeah, so let's say it's let's start by saying it's a super flex. So super flex, you giving up the 103 and a second for AJ Brown?
So I'm giving up CJ Stroud in a second for AJ Brown in a super flex.
I'm okay with it. Are we going to slap a 12-team start 10 context to this? If so, I'm okay doing it because AJ Brown is a locked-in starter.
What if it's a 10-team, 1 QB start 10?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, 1 QB. Yeah, because
if you're doing a 12-team super flex that's not super deep rosters, I think that would be the only one where you might be hesitant, or a 14-teamer where you know you're getting a shot at a quarterback here might be the situation where I would say, if I need a quarterback, I'm okay holding on to the pick to seeing what options I can have. But I'm okay with this.
The best thing I can ever say, and sometimes I give this answer to people, and it annoys them. I go, "It's fair." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because it's like I'm not exactly sure. It would depend on my roster, what I'm looking at, what I'm trying.
But you got AJ Brown, so
but
you
it's
mean
fair.
Yeah, exactly. Agree.
Right. So I wouldn't look at that and see that in the trade or in, come across my Gmail and go, "Oh, someone got fleeced." I would go, "Oh, yeah, I can see that."
Yep. Okay. Let's put this up here. Tim Goins has a question for us. How aggressively are we trying to buy Ridley in Jacksonville?
Define aggressively.
Would
So
you do 2
would you
seconds for him?
spend, would you spend a 23 second and a 24 second for Calvin Ridley?
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, man. See, it's hard for me to say yes because I think there's going to be other receivers that are going to be slightly outside of that range we talked about earlier that you can get for 1 second.
Wide receiver 8 over in his last full season, I believe he was.
I get it, but I guess the only out you have if you buy him for that price is there going to be a window where you sell him for a first? And we were talking earlier where you can't even sell Chris Godwin or Michael Pittman for a first. So I just don't see the path unless Ridley absolutely crushes. You're still going to have to wait till the season, I think, because people are, I haven't seen him play in, 2 full years or, a year and a half. He's on a new team. So, I mean, I just wouldn't pay the 2 seconds because my goal with having Ridley shares is to flip, not necessarily think he's going to get back to being a top 24 receiver. That's probably not a great bet.
See, I have no concerns about him being a top 24 wide receiver. I'm definitely buying him for
You take him over Christian Kirk? Same team. Is there room for both of them to be top 24?
No, and I know, and I looked at that when I wrote up the fantasy data. Yeah, Kirk's going to become the cuck there, so it's probably going to be the Ridley show. And nothing against Kirk. I mean, he's just better suited as a wide receiver too, and he'll be a good wide receiver too on that team.
I mean, he smashes when he's playing in the slot. I think Ridley will be good for Kirk. So I think it can be both,
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. So when Doug Peterson was with the Eagles finished as a top 13 in pass attempts every year but one, and in the top 10 in like 4 out of 6 years. So they do like to throw, and they did draft a quarterback 1 overall. It's just they haven't had the weapons to truly let him loose. So there's no reason to think that offense can't really be like a really high or heavy pass volume offense.
Jacob's got a super chat for us. Thank you very much, Jacob. Hey guys, love the content. Not sure if you've discussed this before, but can you talk about your teams and your guys' leagues? Any contenders this year?
Yes.
How much time do we have?
Ooh. Yeah, you know what? One thing I will, and I finally, like I've said this every year, I'm in too many leagues, right? Yep. And it sounds like a cop-out when you say that, except that you can't work the rosters the way you want to. Yeah. And the more I've been doing these roster reviews, I'm going, oh, I'd love to make those deals in my league. And then I go, there's too many fucking leagues. I'm just not even going to go. Like, there's just too many of them. Not going to try it. I'm going to go to the leagues I care about. So here's the 8 leagues I care about. And the other 30, like I periodically check in on them and go, oh, look at that. I didn't even know I'm in 3rd place. That's awesome. Or another team, I'm like, oh, I don't have a win yet this year. Like, so yes, I have contenders. I have some really bad teams, but what I'll say is I'm cutting at least half of my leagues next year.
yeah, but then you're gonna do like
no
9 or 10 startups.
No, so the only leagues I'm going to be in next year, there's going to be a couple that are not. It's going to be mostly HQ leagues, and it's going to be Dynasty trades in 5 leagues. And then the other leagues are just going to get cut, and I don't care. And if they're bad, I'll just pay for the next year because I can't do it anymore. I can't focus on them the way I want to. Like I give more attention to these teams that we're doing roster reviews than I do on any of my own teams. Like I don't spend a half an hour a day on any of my teams. You know what I mean? Like, and I would love to be able to do that.
Let's turn it over to Scott, who has a process, of course, and is still somehow very involved in his 50 some odd leagues. Go ahead, Scott.
I mean, everything Shane says is true. You have how much time. I mean, we have full-time jobs too. We do work full-time jobs, but I spend I legit spend 40 hours a week doing fantasy football content. So, I mean, from managing our Patreon chats, and I'm over in the Destination Devi Discord 4 or 5 hours a day, like in the voice chat, like chatting with, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do, right? On top of doing, this show, roster reviews, podcasts. So you got to love that first and foremost. And I don't think Shane and we like doing that. You know what I mean? It's a way for us to stay connected. It's a way for us to interact with everybody out there. Like, we love that almost more than we probably like playing fantasy football. But I also, why did we get here? We're players.
Yep.
That's why I think a lot of people relate to us. We're dynasty players. We didn't start like, hey, I'm already doing podcasting. I come from redraft and I've never played in dynasty. Let me go do a dynasty podcast, right? Like, we started because we were players before we had any audience or any platform. So at heart, I'm a player. I will say this: any league I win this year, I am paying the dues for the future and I'm giving the teams away.
Yep.
So a lot of leagues that I win, I mean, I have probably 10 teams that are just stacked. So if they win, I'm going to pay the future dues. I'll give them away we'll give away teams on live streams. Yeah. I'll connect you to the league. Like, I'll literally give away my teams, pay for the futures, let people get in there, break them up. If they win, they got to be at least decent, and I'll pay for all the future dues as well. So that'll be something I'll do, but I'm not like Shane. I'll still probably be in 50 plus leagues next year.
Yeah.
So I'll add more. I'll add higher dollar leagues. I'll add different types of leagues. I want to start getting into more best ball. I'm probably going to add 10 to 15 best ball dynasty leagues this offseason because it's a different game, and I want to kind of tap into that space as well. So yeah.
We'll have a bunch of leagues to orphan off for sure to our subscribers. I'm gonna have to get out of some. I'm gonna start some new ones, but because we've had a lot of people reach out to us saying, hey, can you guys get us in a league? And yes, we will be able to, and we'll have a process for that.
Look, this is going to be my third year in a row where I said I'm cutting down significantly, and I've made slow cuts. You know what I mean?
You're in more than you've ever been.
No, I'm not in. I'm in less.
What are you in, like 47, 48?
We got to hit some.
Let's get some questions here.
Yeah.
Drew Sorensen Music, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy late Thanksgiving. Happy late Thanksgiving to you, sir. This is for the Amon-Ra question from the community post. Yep. Plus all the great content. I've got a bubble for it. Okay. Plus all the great content you guys do to help us get better. Best Dynasty content on YouTube. Cheers. Thank you very much. I do have his question here. I believe this is no, that might not be it. One second. Okay. If you think a younger wide receiver who's currently a wide receiver 1/2 will lose value in the offseason and you're not contending, how would you pivot? Or would you just hold and hope you're wrong? His example was Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'll read his comments too. Hold on, I'll find it real quick. There it is. I personally think Amon-Ra is at the apex of his value. He's extremely inefficient on his targets. And the Lions' number 12 draft pick is a wide receiver who I think will eat into Amon-Ra's targets. So what do you think there? There's a couple other sentences, but in his case, Amon-Ra, he thinks he may be a little bit of a pretender. How would you pivot?
So here's what I'll say, and I've said this before, right? There's like 6 players in Dynasty that actually matter, right? And when I say that, what I mean is there's a small group of players that we can say without a doubt we know what they are going to be, right? We can say without a doubt Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are wide receiver ones, like the elite wide receiver ones. Can we say that about Amon-Ra? I don't know. Do I think he can be? Yes. But if someone else is willing to pay me based off them knowing that he can be that, and pay me the requisite cost now for that, then I'm fine with doing that, especially if I'm not contending and I'm still building. And I'll take a shot, hopefully with another wide receiver to pick so that I get 2 shots at that apple, or 2 bites at that apple, whatever the saying is.
2 shots.
2 shots at that apple. I'll just shoot that apple
with that bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is a question that can apply to different players, but it really comes down to the player, right? I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is 8th in the league in target share. He leads the league in targets per route run. Normally, those 2 things are pretty sticky. Mm-hmm. But if someone's paying you top 8 wide receiver prices for him, I'm okay selling. If someone's saying, yeah, I don't really think he's in my top 12 in Dynasty, I think he's a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2, like the worst possible outcome for him is Deontay Johnson, where it's like they draft a rookie quarterback. The rookie quarterback isn't that great. He struggles for a year. Yet you still look at Deontay Johnson and you look at his peripheral numbers and it's like, he's still pretty good. It's just the fantasy points aren't following. But why are the fantasy points not following? Because the quarterback efficiency is not there. The offense isn't there. It's not him. So, I mean, yeah, if you can sell Amon-Ra St. Brown and go get, an up tier, like we would consider him to be in the same tier as some of these other guys we talk about. But if you can add a second to him and go get Jalen Waddle or something like that,
Right.
okay. But I'm not just getting out because I think he's not, like all of his numbers say he basically is what he is. He's a top 15 receiver, but in any given year, he could be top 12 or better. Like, and that's just where he's going to slot in. So I think he's actually appropriately valued. So if it's a different name, maybe, but I wouldn't be looking at him going like, yeah, he's just not that good. Everything says he's good.
What if I made you this offer? So 12-team super flex, PPR, start 10, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you get 224 firsts.
Yeah, I'm going to trade him for that.
You'll take 224 first?
I think the reason you do that is because you may be able to go buy a receiver that you're betting that Amon-Ra fades into that. Because basically, if you make that deal, you're kind of betting that he falls into the like nondescript receiver range where he's just like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 that has spike weeks. You should be able to buy a guy for a single first that fits in there. Like, can you buy Chris Godwin for a first? Now all of a sudden it's Amon-Ra for Chris Godwin and the 24 first. That looks even better because it's like, damn, I just filled this receiver spot with another good receiver that doesn't have the same name cachet. So I think that's how you do it. But I doubt. Here's the thing, Clay. If you offer Amon-Ra St. Brown for Chris Godwin in a first, that's not getting accepted because people are going to look at the optics of that trade and go, man, do I really want to spend my first to maybe marginally upgrade at receiver? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is some people won't think that it's a marginal upgrade, and there's going to be people in your league, and we're all truthers, and we all make this mistake, right? We all assume that we know, like, well, look, DJ Moore is going to be a wide receiver 1. It's going to happen. Don't you see this upward trajectory? Mm-hmm. And this isn't really a critique on us as takes because you just can't know what you don't know. But that's why selling him for the first and Godwin is great. But on the other, like I was saying, on the other side, there's someone that's going, no. This is Amon-Ra St. Brown without a good quarterback. Imagine when he gets a good quarterback, right. And maybe Jameson Williams will actually help him because Jameson Williams isn't going to be a target hog. He's going to open up the underneath routes because he's going to be taking everything deep, whether that's correct or not.
I mean, I think it mimics the Steelers situation. Honestly, it's very similar going into next year. But here's the thing. I think you shop every receiver that's not Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson for that type of trade. Yeah. If you can get a first tacked on to a pivot down a 1 tier, I think you always explore those types of trades. So it's not just Amon-Ra. It's if you want to take every receiver in that range and pivot down and you get an extra first, and all of a sudden I go from if I turn a receiver room of Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, and Jalen Waddle, and I turn it into Chris Godwin and 2 other receivers in that next tier, but I now tacked on 3 future firsts. And especially as we flip to the offseason, I have a shot to have just as good of a roster next year, but I have all those first banks. So I think that's always a strategy to do those 2-for-1s.
Yep. Okay. Let's move on to another one here. This is from Mac James. Thank you for the videos, fellas. 12-team Superflex PPR start 10 contender. Give the 102 and Travis Etienne. Get Justin Jefferson.
Yes. There's literally 2 receivers that I would make this deal for, and that's one of them. It's Jefferson and Chase. Like whenever we were just talking about all these guys that are in that mushy tier. Chase and Jefferson aren't. They're in a tier of themselves. So a deal like this, I'll make.
Agree.
Yep. Okay. So
mushy.
Yeah, the super chats have been turned off because we've got a bunch here starred, but we want to hit a bunch of non-super chats. So that's why we're gonna pick up the pace a little bit here. Okay, let's move on here. We've got this one from Darth Desmond. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. 12-team start 9 Superflex, a Saturday night tradition to stop by. Glad you stopped by every Saturday, man. Asking for some trade advice as always. Mid, who actually knows, 24 second, and a late 23 fourth for Rondale Moore. No wide receivers really at the moment. Have 23 first, 223 firsts, 223 seconds, a third, a couple fourths, and a first in 24. So what do you think? Would you give a 24 second and a 23 fourth for Rondale Moore? Sure, right?
No.
I would if you really want to make a bet on Rondale Moore, but I think in a start 9, you're also looking at, is Rondale Moore a guy I want to start? And is the second worth more to me? Can I make a bigger deal where maybe that second can be the difference between me getting a different player, or more importantly, trading up a draft slot or two and getting a better player? That would be the only thing. Is, do you want to have that in the back pocket? Do you want to make that trade now?
Yeah, I mean, Rondale Moore, he seems like the type of asset that could spike in value. You know, he's got a lot of juice behind that name still, I think.
He could be Christian Kirk one day.
And he has been hurt 4 times already in his career.
Yeah.
That is a little bit of a concern. This is a guy that's had 3 soft tissue injuries, and he's only played half the games he's been eligible for, or maybe a little bit over half. So, I mean, that is a little concern because that is something he dealt with in college too.
So who would be some other guys if it weren't Rondale Moore? Who would you be like, oh yeah, I definitely give a 24 second and a third for, who's kind of in that range? Do we have anybody? I'm just trying to give them some extra.
You know mine.
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby
Look,
Myers.
I've been trying to, and it's crazy now. I'm back in on him. I've been trying to get Amari Cooper for some seconds, just on teams that aren't really competing, just to see if they're going to not pay attention to the fact that he's still only 28, even though he's been in the league for 15 years. But yeah, Amari Cooper, and again, these are guys that I assume are just going to retire on my roster. Tyler Lockett, if I think I can compete next year.
Calvin Ridley. I assume you pay that for him.
Yeah.
Would you give that for Lazard? Would you give a 24 second for Lazard?
No, because I don't think I think his upside's wide receiver 2, whereas Amari Cooper can give you wide receiver 1 weeks. Tyler Lockett can give you wide receiver 1 weeks. Calvin Ridley can give you wide receiver 1 weeks. Much more consistently than Alan Lazard ever could.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next one here. Thank you very much, Darth Desmond, for that one. Soul Narrative Studios, thank you as well. 10 teams, start 10, PPR, 2 QB, Hurts, Fields, JT, Olave, Amon-Ra, DK, Hawkinson, Rashad White. I got the 101 and 2 firsts in 24. Advice to stay competitive?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9 starters. I'm adding Bijan Robinson to that. There's 10 starters. Man, this feels like I finish with a lot of our roster reviews. When it's a really good team, I say don't F it up. Don't get cute. Don't get things like trade Olave for, I don't know, Devonta Smith and a first. Like, that tear down's too far. Don't expect to ride JT off into the sunset. He's a running back, so I'm still looking to move him, even though I'm being competitive. I still want to see if I can move him for Ramondre Stevenson in the first. I mean, just simple things like that for me. And don't waste your 24 picks. Just because you have a couple of them doesn't mean that they're extraneous. Sure, that's the word I'll use.
Well, I assume he doesn't have 2 JTs. That's a typo. So maybe we counted one.
I didn't read the second one.
Oh, I didn't even notice the second one.
I thought that was a savvy read by me and the.
It was. I didn't even notice it was there until Scott pointed it out.
Yeah. Well, I was just counting through when Shane was listing them off. I'm counting the number that he listed. I'm going, oh, JT's on there twice.
Yeah, I definitely did. So 8 starters.
Yeah, and it's 2 QB. So Hurts and Fields, I think you're good there. I think you probably want to have a third quarterback that you maybe don't pay a lot for, but you can trust to play when, one of those guys isn't available. So maybe count on 4 starts or something like that from the third quarterback. So I think like Kirk Cousins would be perfect. Buying low on Russell Wilson, that would be a good one, I think. But I think he probably needs to get a couple. I mean, assuming this is it and this is all he has on his roster, probably needs to make one move where he's splitting an asset. I like the idea of the JT trade. I could also get behind, either the Olave or Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you could do one of those splits on those guys, like we just talked about with Amon-Ra, I'd be fine doing that. Pivoting down one tier, but I need to get another first that's a guaranteed starter. And I like I like having that in a 2 QB league because it gives me a little more flexibility with the draft. So got to probably split one asset, but he's in good shape. Good job.
Casey, thank you very much for the
What
super
up, Casey?
chat 2023. And we'll go to we got a couple non-super chat inbox trades that'll be next. Thank you very much, Casey. 12 team, 1 QB, half PPR, no tight end premium, start 9. Have Justin Herbert, Miles Sanders, Jacobs, Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Pittman, Cooper, Burks, Foster, and Goddard in second place. You making any moves or staying put? Have 723 first. Kelsey and Andrews are not available.
I'm going to get Gerald Everett.
Would you so you're going to get Gerald Everett? Okay.
If you can't get Kelsey or Andrews and Goddard's going to be out, I'd rather have Gerald Everett starting with Herbert. Yeah, that's the best. If you're talking about tight ends in that range and you can't get the elite guys, the best place to go is to get the stack. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I think you can probably get him fairly cheap.
Would you spend some money on Ken Walker the third in a half PPR? You got a bunch of firsts, 1 QB, and you
Shane would.
Yeah, I mean,
Miles Sanders and Josh
Shane's buying
Jacobs.
some sledgehammers on this team.
I'd probably, I'd be looking to next year in 24. I'd be like, here's a first for Breece Hall. You give me him. He's better than any running back not named Bijan Robinson in the draft next year. I'd pay for Ken Walker now. I know it's a half PPR. Guess what? I'm going to go get Jamar Chase and add him to Jefferson and absolutely maul people to death.
I would pay a late first for Derrick Henry. Would be the one I'd be willing to throw a late first out there because he has 7. And I would even probably pay up to a 107, 108 for him.
But that's it. No more than that. You can't. Yeah. I don't want to invest in too many. We just gave up 3 firsts for running backs, which is just, I think that's against our religion, and we might die in our sleep if we actually did that.
I mean, his running backs could be in trouble here too, with Jacobs injured, and I mean, it's like you probably need it. You do need a hammer running back, whether that's the cheap side or whether that's the more expensive side, like Shane said. But I'm okay doing that.
Derrick Henry, you can get for a first, assuming he's not on the first place roster or the 3rd through 6th.
Problem is, he's probably on the same team with Kelsey, and he's going like, I'm not trading with you. You know, that's what you see with a lot of those.
Yep. Okay. Hopefully we gave you some ideas there, Casey, to go with. So we'll move that comment. Thank you very much for that super chat. Let's go to a few that we starred here. Everett's got an inbox trade. 12 team, 1 QB, PPR, start 10. Give an early 23 first, a mid 23 first, and a late 23 first. Get Jamar Chase. Is that too much?
Probably, but I'd still do it.
Listen, if this is one of those where it's like you have these first just hanging out and you really want to see Jamar Chase on your team, sure. It's a 1 QB, so I don't hate it as much. If this was super flex, I think we would say the picks would be okay to actually sell for because you're getting the 3 first rule for a receiver.
And in the same year.
So let's just
single QB, I'm okay with it.
Let's look at let's just look at 2022, for example, right? And this is a good wide receiver class, but let's just say that early first was Treylon Burks, the mid first was Jahan Dotson, and the late first was Sky Moore. How do you feel about giving that up for Jamar Chase? And obviously, 2 of those guys, or at least one of them, Dotson, we figured people call a hit. So, yeah, I'm fine taking Jamar Chase here.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's not about the picks, Shane. It's not about the players. It's about what can you do with the picks.
That's
the only thing, especially if one of those is early. I mean, but yeah, 1 QB, that answers it. 1 QB, I'm okay with it.
Luke's got an inbox trade. 10 team, 1 QB, start 8. Give Swift, get a 23 third and a 24 first. Currently middle of the pack with no chance at the playoffs.
See ya.
The 7 or 8 targets last on Thanksgiving didn't do anything for you?
No.
Even though 4 connected, something like that?
You know what's amazing is Swift is, I think, one of the players I get the most questions about.
Yes.
People constantly message me like, hey, should I pay this first for Swift? It seems like he's a value, and I think that's the reason you get a lot of questions on him is because there are a lot of people like Shane that are like, dude, can I just not have to see him on my team anymore? But then you can also see where, okay, even if he gets used like I don't even want to say like the Austin Eckler range, but even if he gets used like Aaron Jones, you know what I mean?
Or like Kamara back in the day when Ingram was there and younger.
See, the thing about Kamara though, dude, that's an 80+ catch player. Like you've never seen that type of target share for Swift. I think like Aaron Jones season where he gets you 60 catches and he just stays healthy enough to get like 200 carries maybe is I think the peak for him. But I mean, even Aaron Jones at his peak needed an Aaron Rodgers offense and a massive touchdown season for top 5 numbers, So if you're just taking bets, I think it's okay to cash out on Swift and just, can you go buy Antonio Gibson and sell Swift and essentially you're getting the same player?
Yep. Okay, so we're saying yeah, maybe.
I mean, take a first for him, and you're just liquidating a guy that has some risk. That's
no, I'm definitely saying get him off your roster.
Dustin, thank you very much for the super chat. 10-team Superflex, half PPR, start 10, rebuilding, have what's looking like the 102. I gave 223 seconds late and Breece Hall to secure the 101. Did I overpay?
Nope.
After
an injury, I have no clue why someone would trade the 101 for Breece Hall in 2 seconds. Feels like you're...
Yeah, like I don't know what the late seconds do for them.
You're buying all the risk for a pick that isn't changing, Why couldn't you make this deal the day before the NFL draft?
Keep trading with that person. There's a screw loose.
Go back and see if you can trade your 24 seconds for it to get something else from him.
Yeah, see if there's any other players on his team that strike your fancy. And then maybe he will undervalue them.
If you have Javonte Williams, go get his 24 first.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm pretty sure he's not going to build his team up any better.
Get a 24 first for J.K. Dobbins. Okay, thank you very much for that super chat. We are running through some more here. Then we got some non-super chats. Okay, let's go to this one from Robert. Thank you very much. 12-team Superflex start 10. Mahomes owner approached me about 223 firsts, Higgins and Komet for Mahomes. I have 6 firsts and only other QB is Tua. Do you do this no matter which first they are?
Oh, the guys.
He's getting Mahomes, Shane.
Oh, Jesus Christmas. Yes. It's a Christmas miracle. Do that. Yes.
Try to avoid the 101 just because, but I would almost be like, as long as it's not the 101 here, you can pick one. I'll give you, if I pick a first, you pick a first. Let him pick whatever one he wants. If he picks the 103 and you pick the 111, done. Dude. Happily take this and run.
Yeah, and the only other QB is Tua. Yes, this is a Christmas miracle.
Yes,
early Christmas.
God
Christmas in November.
Everyone.
Yes. Cheers. So we have 199 people in here. We got 2 Facebook likes. That's cool. So Shane's uncle logged in from a couple different accounts. Look down, hit that thumbs up on the YouTube machine if you're on here. We appreciate that. Help out us, help out the algorithm, make us feel warm and fuzzy inside. So we'll move that one here. Jesse Daniels, I see we have a super chat from him, and we'll put Shane. We'll have Shane Bird Dog that super chat. So I'll keep it starred.
Shane's like, shit, I started that one an hour ago.
In the meantime, here's a quick one: Watson and a 24 first for CD. Guessing this has to be one.
Watson.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Christian
Yes.
Watson and the 24 first for CD.
I would pay that. Yep.
I'm doing it. Okay. Let's go to this one right here. Just got my roster review today. This is James. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the time you give to your viewers. Love the takes and you engage with us to personalize the experience. Glad you enjoyed it, James. Yeah, Scott and Shane do an awesome job there. And I know you're about to pull it up here, Shane. I'm just going to throw a banner real quick. If you would like to talk to us about a roster review, send us an email at dynastytradesin5@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to do it. You could also DM me on Twitter at tradesin5, but send a message to dynastytradesin5@gmail.com. We do charge for them to help keep the lights on with this channel, but Shane and Scott do an awesome job. What they do is they would just throw up your roster in my spot. So I'm gone and your roster is in between them and they break down your team. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. We have hit resume on new roster reviews. So I'm going to be going back and looking at timestamps of people who wanted them previously. But anyway, that's how you get a roster review. So I'll take that banner down here. All right. Did you find it, Shane?
I found one of his. So hopefully this is it.
Okay. Thank you, Shane. Jesse, in a 1 QB league, should I try and move Herbert to try and get a premium wide receiver? I have Herbert, Rashad White, the 101, Pickens, J-Mo, and Higgins.
I mean, I'll say yes, but are you going to get the wide receiver I want? Like, I'm not moving much past, let's see, who's the wide receiver 5? Chris Olave. Can I get Chris Olave for Justin Herbert in a 1 QB league? Because if they're not willing to pay at least that, then I'm just holding on to them.
In a vacuum, yes, you would move 1 QB quarterback for a elite receiver. In just a receiver when you don't have any other quarterbacks. I think it comes down to what other quarterbacks can you get.
Mm-hmm.
If you can sell Justin Herbert and get Chris Olave, and then you can turn around and go buy, Kyler Murray for cheaper, then sure, like I'm okay with that. But I think it just what he puts up on the screen, he just has Herbert. I didn't see another quarterback, so I'm actually fine just rolling with what he has, unless he can pick which receivers he wants. And like Shane said, it's probably you send out the offer. Don't say, hey, I'll trade Justin Herbert for a receiver, and then people are sending you, Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Indeed. Okay. Hopefully we helped you out there, Jesse. And thank you, Shane, for finding that comment there. Nicely done. Shane's kind of a beast behind the scenes, like bird dog and all these. Mike, thank you very much for the super chat, sir. 12 teams, start 9, super flex. Out this year, but wanting to make a run next year with Fields. What QB2 could I get with Watson, Tony, Debo, and Waller, and 2 firsts this year, both mid to late?
So we're talking Christian Watson and those other players. I mean, I think you're kind of stuck with Tony and Waller at this point. So it's really Debo, Christian Watson, and 2 firsts.
And those picks.
I mean, I'd be willing to trade 3 of those assets, let the person pick for Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson in that range. 2 of them for maybe in the Trevor Lawrence range, Dak Prescott range. So I think you got to be flexible. I mean, I think you obviously want to stay in that top 12 though, and just explore, what the price points are on all of them.
Look, if I'm giving up Debo and a couple firsts, I don't want just top 12. I need top 8, top 7.
Well, three for any quarterback in the top 7 or 8, and then 2 of those assets trying to get the T-Law range, Dak Prescott range, and let them pick. Like nobody is going to be like, hey man, I'll give you a quarterback for Kadarius Toney and Darren Waller. You're probably stuck with it's going to be Watson, Debo in the first is going to be what people are going to want. So
yeah, unfortunately, Kadarius Toney couldn't play 2 straight weeks and put up high impact numbers.
The good deal is there's only top 12 quarterbacks. So you just send the offer to all of them. You know what I mean? Like you don't.
Math checks out.
It's not like there's a 50 options out there. You just kind of send out all the offers and see what sticks.
Unless, of course, you're in a copy league, because then you can send out up to 24 offers, I think.
And of course, we're in those too. Okay, let's move on to this inbox trade here from Evan. Start 9, PPR, Superflex, Contender, 10-1. 3 2024 early, mid, late firsts, and 2 2024 early to mid seconds for Mahomes or Josh Allen. Which do I take? Okay, so
does that mean a 10-team start 9?
No, it's just start 9.
That's his record, right?
It's 10-1.
It's just start 9. Yeah, start 9, PPR, Superflex. 3 2024 firsts, 2 2024 seconds for Mahomes or Allen. Which do I take?
I might even take Mahomes over Allen, but I don't care.
I'm old school.
If it's a 4-point, well, I mean, Mahomes runs a little bit too, but if it's a 4-point, does that teeter it just enough over to Allen for you?
I honestly, I would look at where if I have any stacks and which ones I have more of, and I would just go with the other one. I really don't care.
So in a vacuum, just at my own specific rankings, which I don't do, I would take Mahomes over Allen. I still have Mahomes as the QB1.
There you go.
If I were Evan, I'd be sweating. You've got two offers in your inbox, and it's where you're receiving Mahomes or Allen for a very, very cheap price. It's like, shit, which one do I take? Let me hop
Can
on
you go out and
live stream.
Can you go out and get 3 more firsts and then just get both?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, right. Can you snag them both and then just smash the league? CLC F15, thank you for the super chat here. 2 inbox trades, 12 team superflex, start 9 PPR. Should I sell J.K. Dobbins for Jacoby Myers in a 24 second? And then the second one is a mid 23 first, 2 23 seconds, and dubs for Cooper Kupp in a 24 first. So let's take this one at a time. Should you sell Dobbins for Jacoby Myers in the 24 second?
Yes.
Easily, yes.
Scott was like smiling. He was like,
that's a dream
like
trade.
That's a dream. That is a dream trade.
Yeah, that's an absolute smash.
And then the second one is a mid 23 first, 2 23 seconds, and dubs for Cooper Kupp in a 24 first.
So we basically sold Dobbins, 2 firsts.
Well, this is in his inbox.
Right, but cumulatively, he sold Dobbins, 2 firsts, and a second, and dubs for Jacoby Myers, Cooper Kupp, and a 24 first. So essentially, he only lost 1 first. So it's basically Dobbins, a first, and a second for Myers, Cooper Kupp. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're just swapping first, and then you upgrade it from those random seconds and Dobbs. Does he play football anymore? That was a fun 2-week run when he was good. But yeah, I'll take the Cooper Kupp guy.
Are you hesitant on the second side a little bit, Clay, Shane?
What?
I would do the if my team was right for it, and Cooper Kupp would really help me next year. I do like the fact that you're getting a 24 first with Cooper Kupp. That's like kind of like a warm fuzzy blanket in that trade. So that definitely would do it for me.
Especially if it's your own first, and Kupp might help push your mid to a late first, and you've essentially swapped a late first for a 24 first. I like that. I like it. Good deal.
Yeah. Accept. Okay. Let's go to this one right here. Excuse me. All right, 12 team, start 10, half PPR, super flex. Give Derek Carr, get DeAndre Hopkins. I'm the top contender and have studs, lack depth, have Lamar, Watson, Mariota, Dalton, Huntley, so I don't need Carr.
Yeah, I'm good with this. Carr's I don't want to say he's useless, but you have quarterbacks that are already in that same range in Mariota and Dalton. And Watson's far above that once he's allowed to play football again in 2 weeks. Next week. So, yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah, sure. It's one of those where it's like you probably have stared at your roster all year and you go, damn, I have way too many quarterbacks. I'm sitting Andy Dalton and Marcus Mariota to play Derek Carr. And, 8 out of the 11 weeks I've made that decision, I've sat the better quarterbacks. So I get it.
Yeah. Let's go to Gator J. Pickens and Ridley, or a 23 second and a 24 first?
Pickens, baby.
Pickens and Ridley.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm all in on Pickens now, man.
Yes, you are.
Took all year, but not all year, but
gotta watch out for that exposure to him here. Okay.
That target share just keeps rising. They trade away players to get him more targets. Deontay Johnson's become his little sidekick there. It's the George Pickens show.
Okay, so we'll do 2 more here. The real Ali, or the real AI, excuse me.
Come on, man.
Pitts trade.
Done. Move
12
on.
team, super flex, non-tight end premium. Give Hollywood Brown, Trey McBride, and a late 23 second. Get Kyle Pitts.
Yes, please.
Yes.
That's called a rapid fire. Yep.
Yes.
That's
smash
called a
it.
rapid fire. Smash. Super Smash Brothers.
Love the Avatar. Big Iverson fan.
Yeah.
I was actually a hardcore Sixers fan for like 7 years, Shane.
Practice? Okay, let's go to this one here. Jack, 12 team Superflex, start 10. Did I overtrade here? Gave Tannehill, Godwin, received Dotson, a 24 second round pick. First Dynasty League, so the deadline has been exciting.
Yes, you gave up too much.
I prefer Godwin to Dotson, and I actually might buy some Tannehill shares for 24 seconds. So, yeah, I mean, it didn't crush you.
Nah,
But
well,
I think the other, it's probably a 60-40 trade in favor of the other side. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tannehill, you're not really getting much value for. So it's not like you could have traded him for much more, but I would just prefer to hold on to the Tannehill and Godwin side. And I think I've been pretty vocal on Dotson not being all that good because, well, wait, he hasn't been scoring touchdowns and now his fantasy scoring is dropped. Incredible.
Yeah. Okay, man. We'll call it there. We'll call it a night.
I wanted to throw these two up real quick, 20 seconds.
Go for it.
I want to throw this one up there.
Yeah, I like this one.
Back in October.
Yeah,
I'll read it here. Thank you. From Casey, back in October, you all suggested going out and trading Dameon Pierce for ETN plus. Has a pendulum swung enough in the direction of ETN to justify trading Pierce plus picks for ETN?
On three, pick? Shane. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Not a first, but if you can get out of Dameon Pierce and throw in a second, and you can get ETN, I'm okay betting on that going into the offseason. And one has the pedigree and the capital, the other doesn't. You know how people are going to behave with that. I think that's what it comes down to.
Exactly that. And there's more of a chance that one of those dudes actually gets competition in the offseason, and his name isn't ETN.
His name is
Pierce. It's Dameon Pierce. Yes. He's the one.
This avatar is hilarious. From Josh Hess, this is our last one. Evening, lads. Should low-end playoff teams be targeting tear downs for draft capital or staying the path and hoping for positive variance in 12-team leagues? Thanks.
Josh, go back and listen to the first 15 minutes. We talked about this. Yes, low-end playoff teams should be targeting tear downs for draft capital, and it's essentially just hedging your bets against you already have a slim chance of winning. So if you can sell one of the examples was Jeff Wilson to get another running back in a second. I don't care if it's a one start Samaje Perine. Literally, you play Samaje Perine this week. If he sucks and you lose, you might be out of it. And you got out of Jeff Wilson with the same bet. So that's exactly what you should be doing. If you're in sixth place and you're going, that's 50-50 for me to make the championship. Exactly. So go back and listen to that segment. We talked about it, but I want to throw that up there just to remind him because it's a great time to do that kind of stuff right now.
You put timestamps on this stuff, Clay?
No, we don't have time for that.
I don't know.
I need to get rid of all of my Dynasty leagues if I'm going to have time to do timestamps on these. No, one day. I'm gonna have to send out a community post message saying we need to grow our team so we can scale this bitch. All right, guys, that's it. That's it for us for tonight. It's good times, man. We got 210 people in here who already hit the like, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us on a holiday weekend here, and we will see you for our Tuesday live stream, of course. Guys, would you like to say some parting words?
Is Christmas on a Tuesday this year?
No.
Christmas
is on a Sunday.
Okay, so we'll still live stream. Thank you for joining us every week, twice a week, and then watching a video when we let that out. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you.
We let it out like we're letting it.
What are you talking about? I've been way faster. I've been way faster.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry.
No, thanks to everybody for showing up again. Another great Saturday stream. The Tuesday streams are usually they feel like they're faster paced. It feels like we get a ton more questions on Tuesdays, maybe just because we're in between like lineup season and college football season and stuff. But great holiday. Everybody enjoy week 12. Hopefully you got some contenders that can make some moves. And if not, a lot of good ideas tonight in terms of what you can do if you're in the middle. So appreciate Clay with running everything. Great job, Clay. Got to give you kudos.
Excellent job, Clay.
Thank you, dudes. Thank you. We'll keep you. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Later.
Everyone.